Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be going over a game that's different, but in a lot of ways, from what we've reviewed, D&D and White Wolf products, to something completely different. Today we're going to be going over Star Trek: The Next Generation role-playing game. Let's go. A little bit of background. The game was published by a company called Last Unicorn Games, which went under. Frankly, it was bought out by Wizards of the Coast. I know they buy everyone because Hasbro bought them and so on and so forth. But so after that, when Last Unicorn went under, the licensing was actually from Paramount, so they actually sold it to Decipher, which eventually stopped also printing the Star Trek game line. So apparently, it wasn't very successful. Honestly. We'll touch on that near the end of the video. But this one uses something called the icon system. I don't know if it's actually used by other games, but it is a D6 system, and it is very, very similar, in fact, to like a White Wolf system, at least in my personal opinion. I found myself reading the system, and I was like, this seems kind of like White Wolf, the D10s. But how it actually works is you have a skill and you have attributes. They're labeled on average from 1 to 5. So, for an example, and how you do something is you perform these tests. They're essentially your skill checks, whatever. What you do is you take your skill. We're going to go with, I don't know, like Streetwise. So say your Streetwise is ranked 4. So you're really good with Streetwise. And you're trying to find I don't know, where you might, about a weapon smuggler. So what you do is you find the attribute that goes along with a skill. In this case, I think it's intellect. So you go to your intellect. Say you've got 3 in intellect. So remember, 4 in your streetwise, 3 in intellect. What you do is you roll 3d6, and you call one the drama die. We'll touch on that in just a second. And then you roll all 3 of them. Then you take the highest one and add it to your skill. So say we roll a 5. That's your highest one. So now you've got 9 because you rolled a 5 and your skill was already at 4. So you get 9. Now if it equals or passes the difficulty, congrats, you got it. If not, you didn't. Now with the drama die is it counts as a normal die. You just declare which one it is. However, if that die comes up a 6, you add also the second highest to the die pool, to the skill. So in that same example, 5 was your highest, but if your other one's also another 5, you'll add the other 5 as well. Well, actually no, because your drama die has to come up as 6 to do it. So you add the drama die 6 and the 5, and you add them, so now you've got 15. However, if it comes up as a 1, it subtracts. It's dramatic failure. Sucks. So that's how the system works. Now that you understand a little bit of it, right off the bat, we get a ton of information. I mean, I was too young to really understand Star Trek. I grew up watching a little bit of Voyager and then Enterprise, and I didn't really understand it. I thought, oh, that's a cool show. But I didn't understand it, so I didn't retain any of it. So reading through this book, I get a lot of history from Next Generation, and it supplements enough. I mean, it's not as in-depth as someone who actually, watched the show all the time and actually understood and retained it. But it's a good supplement. We get information on just a broad overview of the history. We get the history on Starfleet and how that works, which, for those who don't know what Starfleet is, in this galaxy, I should say, Earth, the year is like 2134 or something like that, some odd number, and Starfleet formed. Starfleet is, there's the galactic, it's like the, what is it, United Federation of Planets. Think United Nations. And then Starfleet is essentially their peacekeeping forces, their military. and they kind of go about and, you know, do missions that they feel need to be done, whatever. It's very United Nations-esque. So we get a lot of information on Starfleet, and it's you know, what kind of things they do, what roles their ships play, things like that. Then we get into character creation. Personally, I really liked this idea for character creation. I thought it was really cool. A little bit complex, and at least in this book, I felt a little bit limited. But we'll touch on that more. So, right at the beginning, we have example characters, samples that you could use. We get an Andorian security officer. That's a race, and then the class. Because how things are broken up in this. You have your race, which grants its own bonuses. Then you get your, I think it's called template, and then outline, something like that. Essentially race and class. And then that's where you start off. And then from there, you get development points to invest in edges, which are improvements and disadvantages into, because I believe you take a disadvantage in one field, and you can gain an extra development point. And what happens is you use them to improve attributes, skills, edges, which are those sub attributes, advantages and disadvantages, which act like merits and flaws. So now that you get that, so we get a couple of stereotypical styled examples, things that we could use for, you know, all right, we're all new to this game. Let's all play. Here, take this, 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 and this. So it's all right. But then it goes into how to do character creation and like how you would do it from scratch. First, by picking our race, which we get 7 of. Like I said, I felt kind of limited right here. I think later on in the back of the book, you can get alternate other races, but right here is just the core, and I don't know. I was a little bit perturbed by that. Then we get into the classes, or overlays, as they're called. We also get another 7. We get, for those who actually do like Star Trek, I will tell you the races. You could be an Andorian, a Betazoid, Bolian, Centauran, Human, Tellarite, and Vulcan. That's the core. And your classes are Command, Operations Officer, Science, Medical, Engineer, Security, and Ship's Counselor. So, and what happens is your race dictates a lot of your attributes and skills, your base. And then your class also adds more to it and grants other ones. And I think some of them are optional to take to make your class unique to you. But then we get into things, what I really, really did like is when it went into background. Because what it did was it broke it up into, I believe, 3 categories. We get early life, academic, tour of duty, and yeah, that's it, tour of duty. So what it did was it broke it into 3 categories. And in each category, it gave you X amount of development points to spend however you wanted. So what you would do with those development points is it would list advantages, attributes, disadvantages, and skills that would stereotypically be available at that age. So you kind of begin to build this growing history. And it also gave the option of taking packages, which were predefined, setups. Like some of them are, we get Starfleet Brat. You know, you get a contact in Starfleet, Administration, Starfleet 1, Administration 1, Starfleet 2, which is specialization in Starfleet, vehicle operation, and then rival in Starfleet. So, I mean, you get kind of these pre-built things that really help make your character unique. Then we get into academic life, which breaks down the same. We get cadet crew's history, which doesn't really offer a lot. And then we get tour of duty history, which offers some more. And then at the very, very back, they offer how you could just build from the ground up, foregoing all of it. You know, just getting all of your points all at once and building it however you want. That's the other option. So I really liked how they set it up because they kind of forced you to role play this, to build this background for your character. So I was a big fan of that. And I had all these examples of things throughout, rank and everything. It goes into how to use all of these things. We get psionic stuff for the Betazoids and a couple others. Blast through all these skills. All these skills also give you a specialization pretty much as soon as you take it. So that makes it really cool, to me at least, in the fact that everyone knows a little bit more about something. No one has just general knowledge of everything. Everyone knows a little bit about something, and then they always pick something that they liked. Like I know history. Well, everyone always has their favorite thing in history. You know, Trojan War, Greek history, Egyptian history, Roman, European, Chinese, Japanese, whatever. And that'll be represented by history, and then in parentheses, Trojan War, Greek history, Roman War, not Roman War, Rome. I mean, I like that. It made everyone kind of special in their own way. It goes into how to do tests, which this is where it also has a lot in the multi-action area as White Wolf, and the fact that you can take as many as you want pretty much, but each one subsequently adds +1 to the difficulty of whatever you're doing. So, except the first one is free. So if you perform 2 actions, both actions are at a +1 difficulty. If you perform 8 actions, every one of them is a +7 difficulty. So I like that idea because it means you can try more if you're willing to take the risk. So it's got actually a fairly simple system ultimately once you read through it and kind of figure out how everything works, because both land and space combat, they operate fairly similar, so that it's not like, oh my god, space combat's gonna be so hard now. They both kind of follow a very, very similar structure. Shields for starships, very equivalent to armor for ground combat. Cover is the same, attacking is the same. So the only real difference is in space you might have, not everyone is shooting, but everyone's doing something. It's got examples of combat. Goes in fairly in depth about how to, run space combat, how everything it works. It's got a fairly in-depth section about how to design adventures. He calls them episodes. I don't really like how they broke it. They broke the time down, scene, round, blah blah blah, because they didn't have adventure. They had episode, and they expected you to do it all in one session. Now I don't know about you guys, but when I run, my adventures aren't able to be condensed normally into a day normally, because you've been playing 6, 7, 8 hours. To have a really in-depth good story that can accommodate role playing in mass amounts, combat that may supposed to be occurring or not. So aside from that, that's just a really small complaint. It goes into how to spend your experience points. White Wolf styled again. Then we get how to do crews, example crews, because everyone's supposed to fill some sort of role. Engineer, medical, tactical, pilot. It's not recommended that you actually start everyone at such a high rank, captain or whatever, because obviously you can only have one captain on a ship. So we move along. Goes into ships. It's actually got a ton of ships. It's got visuals for them and how they all work. It's got technology and how it works. Your equipment section, really. Then it goes into other races. They're not the core races, so I think there's optional ways to play them. But you got the Klingons, you got Cardassian, not Kim Kardashian, Cardassian with a C. Romulans, Ferengi, I think it's Orions, might be Orions. bring. I mean, we get a ton, and what is that? We get some creatures. You know, for when you actually fight creatures that aren't, you know, intelligent beasts. And we get, you know, that's it. So, ultimately, I found myself wanting to play this game because I like Star Trek, and the system seems simple enough that it could be played pretty much, you know, with brand new people. And even if you didn't know a lot about Star Trek, if you found someone who did, or if you just read the book, I think you get a fair amount of knowledge enough to at least play. So, I personally think it's a good product if you like Star Trek or you like sci-fi role-playing games. I mean, pretty much your options for sci-fi role-playing games consist of the D20 system, which in my personal opinion doesn't accommodate future, and the Codex system, I think is what it's called. I think that's what Firefly's official rulebook uses. But and then apparently this. But yeah, until next time, have a good one.